Shalom, all praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, and the elders of GMS who rule well, peace, and salutations to the elect. My name is Ainan. It's like I lost my train of thought. Say it again. All praises to Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, right? Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, and the elders of GMS who rule well, peace, and salutations to the elect. My name is Ainan. The title of this video is China's new Arctic route is changing global trade. All right, and we'll get into it. It won't be quick. I gotta have a quick two pulled up. I just want to put this up, but basically, the whole thing with the ice melting, right? Over in the Arctic, and now Trump wanting Greenland, right? And all these things is the Most High Yahweh Bashmiel Shai must in the whole of the battle, right? He's stirring the pot, right? He's making tensions flare, right? Because America will never keep that home. Is in everyone's business, trying to upset and disrupt things. But Isaiah 13:4 says, "The noise of a multitude in a mountain is like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdom of nations gathered together. The Lord Yahweh Bashmiel Shai host mustered the host of the battle." Right. So the Most High Yahweh Bashmiel Shai is gearing up these nations, for war. Right. And I always, recently I've been speaking of the map, like the layout of how things are positioned in the world and how it's basically against the wicked, and that wicked being America, right, and its ally Israel, basically, with the cosplayers over there in that land. But now you have the Arctic, right? The ice is melting in the Arctic, and China has found, them a route, right, away from pressure, away from, everyone, away from, policing the area, and now America's won over there, So I'm gonna play a little bit of this. You can watch the whole thing if you want, right? But yeah, I'm gonna just play it.
Modern icebreakers and plans to add more, including a nuclear-powered design. That fleet supports research now, but it also builds the knowledge needed for commercial operations later. And then there's Russia. Russia controls the route. China needs access. Russia needs cargo, investment, and partners.
Well, matter of fact, what I'll do is I'll play probably a few up here, and then I'll get back to where I started at. Okay.
For most of modern history, the Arctic was a wall, not a road. Ice made commercial shipping impossible. Navigation charts ended where the frozen ocean began. Trade between Asia and Europe followed the same southern paths through the Indian Ocean, the Red Sea, and the Suez Canal, because there was no serious alternative. That assumption no longer holds. Over the past 4 decades, Arctic summer sea ice has shrunk dramatically. In recent years, late summer ice coverage has fallen to around 4 million square kilometers.
And that's what I want to point out. Now that as we get close, inch closer towards the end of this current kingdom, right? America is doing everything in its power to heal itself, and we know that wound cannot be healed, right? Pursuant to Jeremiah 51:9, you have Nahum 3:19, right? There's no healing of that bruise. And now what they're trying to do to stop China from just trading, basically, is own Greenland to basically come over there and tell China what they can and can't do, right? But it's the Most High Yahweh Bashmiel Shai that's allowing ice to melt so they can go ahead and set themselves up and cause problems in the world so the whole world can hate them. And no one's going to be mad about when they go ahead and shoot those missiles on this war, all right?
Down nearly 40% from the 1980s average. That change didn't just alter climate charts, it quietly opened a new corridor across the top of the world. China noticed early. In 2018, Beijing formally folded the Arctic into its Belt and Road framework and introduced a new term, the Polar Silk Road. The idea was simple. If global trade depends on a few vulnerable choke points, then diversification equals security. And if a new route is emerging because of climate change, China wants to be positioned early, not late. When people hear Arctic shipping, it sounds vague, like ships wandering through ice, experience, and legitimacy. China also invested heavily in icebreaking capability. 2 decades ago,
So this is kind of like what happened in Venezuela. China was over in Venezuela too, and even Russia pointed that fact out. They said the person that should feel more, humiliated or upset about America going to Venezuela was China, because China, invested billions of dollars into Venezuela, right, infrastructure and things like that. And I guess they were giving China oil, in return for all of that. And America is basically trying to take it over. So this is a slap in the face to China. And even now, we America is talking about China and Russia can't go into Greenland, and no one said anything about Greenland until Trump started talking about it, right? But they're, what, and I can't know, what's going on behind the scenes, but we only can see what's happening here. And China has this route, and Russia also has this route, to just, go up there and travel and just go directly to, Europe and trade and things like that. And America, being the bully that they are not happy about it. Psalms 10 tells us that they puff at their enemies, So, China's trying to mind their business, and America is popping up over there like, what's good? This is what the AMP says. This is Psalms 10 and 5. It says, his ways prosper at all times. Your judgments, Lord, Yahweh Bashmawashah, are on high out of his. So he never thinks about them. As far as enemies, he sneers at them, like the KJV. It says his ways are always grievous, that judgments are far above out of his sight. For all his enemies, he puffeth at them. Right, and this is another way that he's trying to puff at China by trying to block them off in the area that he doesn't even own or control, right? And that's why he's threatening to go to war with Greenland for this area. In my opinion, and like I said, he said China and Russia can't have Greenland, which, like I said, who the hell was saying anything about Greenland? Obviously, that belongs to the NATO, Europe, right?
it had none. Today, it operates multiple modern icebreakers and plans to add more, including a nuclear-powered design. That fleet supports research now, but it also builds the knowledge needed for commercial operations later. And then there's Russia. Russia controls the route. China needs access. Russia needs cargo, investment, and partners, especially after Western sanctions narrowed its options. Their interests align almost perfectly in the Arctic. Russia provides icebreakers, permits, and coastal control. China provides ships, capital, and long-term demand. Together, they turn a frozen coastline into a working trade corridor. But this growing alignment between China and Russia does not exist in isolation. And then there's the United States. From the US perspective, the Arctic route is rarely treated as a shipping story. It is treated as a power story. For decades, the world's most important trade routes passed through regions where American influence shaped security outcomes, whether directly or indirectly. The Strait of Malacca, the Indian Ocean, the Red Sea, and the Suez Canal all sit within a system that the United States helped stabilize. That system works, but it also concentrates risk. When trade depends on a small number of corridors, disruptions travel fast. Accidents, regional conflicts, or political pressure in one place can ripple across the global economy. The Arctic route changes that equation by creating a corridor that does not rely on narrow canals, crowded sea lanes, or long-standing choke points. This is why Washington views Arctic shipping through a strategic lens rather than a purely economic one. A route running along Russia's northern coastline sits outside traditional US-secured pathways, reduces exposure to congestion, and weakens the dominance of single route dependency. China's motivation, however, is far simpler. China is not challenging sovereignty in the Arctic, and it is not pushing military presence there. It accepts existing legal frameworks, recognizes Russia's authority over the northern sea route, and operates through permits, regulations, and icebreaker escorts. That approach reflects participation, not confrontation. The Polar Silk Road is not designed to replace existing corridors, but to ensure that when disruptions happen, alternatives already exist. In that sense, China's Arctic strategy is not about challenging the United States. It is about preparing for a world where trade geography no longer behaves the way it once did. However, on a map, the Arctic route looks clean and simple. In real life, it's one of the most demanding environments commercial shipping can.
Right. And that's very important. I wanted to grab shipping is very important, and even here it tells us that when America is destroyed, that the shipmasters are going to be crying because they can't sell any more merchandise to America. This is Revelations 18:9. It says, "And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning." It says, "Standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man bought their merchandise anymore." Right? So they're going to be crying because they're not allowed to trade with America anymore, you know? So, just throw that out there. But ultimately, this is going to cause these nations to say how long with America trying to acquire Greenland. And they say, I think Europe and NATO sent like 15 troops to Greenland. At least that's the report that I've seen. And I think they even pulled those troops back out. People are saying that, Europe can't do anything against America, and America is going to take Greenland. But that's going to upset China, who has invested billions again. Mind you, they invested billions in Venezuela. That investment is through. Now they have invested billions, trying to do this Arctic pathway thing. They're making new ships, icebreaker ships, and things like that. And America is now going over there. So it says Habakkuk 2:5. It says, "Yeah, also because he transgresseth by law, is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desire as hell and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations and heapeth unto him all people. Shall not all these take up a parable against him and a taunting proverb against him, and say, Woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, how long? And to him that laid himself with thick clay." And that thick clay here is going to the debt, right, that America has accumulated. It says, shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them? So these people, everywhere they go, America is there telling them what they can and can't do. And they're like, yo, you're in a bad state. Boy, you should basically fix yourself and work on yourself. You have all this debt. You don't think you want to pay that off before you try to come over here and mess with what I got going on? And America doesn't care about that. And America is going to be, they're going to rise up and bite them, with nuclear missiles. It says Habakkuk 2:8, "Because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood and for the violence of the land of the city and all that dwell therein." All right. And pretty much that's the point. These nations will rise up. And this is another example how the Most High, is stirring this thing up to allow the devil to be the devil, right? He's not gonna give a fuck. He's talking about take Greenland and probably fuck with China over here too, So anyway, that's all I had. I want to blow the horn on that, So Shalom to the whole elect, which consists of men, women, and children. Shalom.